Oh, I know it's been a minute since I've made any videos, but hopefully this kind of makes up for it. I've got three different workflows I want to demonstrate here for Hunyuan Image2Video. It's basically for generating image to video locally on your computer, and they work pretty good most of the time. I would say probably about 70 to 100% of the time they will work pretty decently. And I just want to demonstrate how they work, and I know this looks a little bit daunting at first, but these are mostly just for upskilling. I just want to kind of get right into it here and show you just the kind of quality that you're going to expect to get from it. You know, it really annoys me when I see dozens of videos of people posting some website you have to go to and pay for pretty much the same thing this does. I just want to kind of show you how to do it locally and actually make decent quality videos too locally. We're just going to find a little image here on SubReddit, and you can basically use just pretty much any type of image you want to use. Some work better than others. Like I noticed that it does have a little bit of trouble with animated image at times, but for the most part it does work. And if you kind of give it a little bit of context about the image, it can help kind of push it along. For the first image here, let's just do like some kind of basic, like a portrait, or let's just girl here. Okay, we'll do her, and we'll just copy this. And if you didn't know, but if you pin this, that's the reason this is not pinned, but if you pin this, you can't just paste images right into it. But if it's not pinned, you can paste images right into it. So just in case somebody didn't know that and they was trying to paste an image into the lone image, the reason it would create a new one is because it's pinned. I've had that issue a few times. But I'm going to go ahead and generate this image, and you can see kind of how I've got everything set up here. And you might think, wow, you got 60 steps, it's crazy, but it's pretty low resolution. And I have messed with this quite a bit actually, for at least, I don't know, probably about 20 30 hours I put into trying to make this workflow actually work decently. And over here you may think, well, I got the guidance scale set up so high, the flow shift is weird. You'll see why in a moment, but I'm just going to head and generate this, and I can kind of show you how it works. Usually I don't put much into the initial action of the scene. I've already got a post prompt here, and this is pretty much all you really need for the post prompt. I wouldn't really change it much. It's just, you got to try and be as generalistic as possible, okay, when you're describing the actions, and you want to try and keep it very simple. Okay, so if you want them to do a certain thing, keep the action as simple as possible and as generalistic as possible. That way the AI model understands what you're trying to do, because it might not know that this is a character, a creature, an animal. It doesn't really know, so it's better for it to have more to be able to guess, I guess, and for you to put like a long ass prompt and try to force it to do what you want it to do. We'll go ahead and generate this one here so that you can kind of see how long it takes. While it's doing that, I'm going to try to explain why I did this. And I just found that it's better to generate images at a low resolution first and then upscale them later. Also, I've got everything on here already. The TCAP, I've got the Hunyuan Video Enhance video. I've got all the Loras set up here. You can see I'm using pretty specific Loras, and I've got them set to pretty specific weight. You don't want to set the weights too high. If you set them way too high for certain types of Lora, that can drastically reduce the quality of the generation. For me, it's not worth it. So it really just depends on what you're trying to do. This one right here, though, it's actually called Enhanced Movement on SubReddit, but this Lora actually works pretty well for increasing the quality. I don't know why. If you keep it around 0.75, it actually helps out quite a bit with movement and stuff like that. Another thing is this dolly zoom effect kind of helps out too with movement. You can plug in pretty much just about any image you want, and it will figure out how to animate it basically just from this one prompt here. Like I said, though, if you want to put any kind of description or action in here, try to keep it simple and very generalistic. Don't say specifics. about the character. Just say the subject or something like that, or the figure in the image or the entity, or something that is very generalistic that could describe anything. You see here, it's not too bad. It's not too slow. I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty good for local, I think. Anyways, I mean, it's it's about a minute or two, to generate any kind of generation at this resolution, and it just gives you time to kind of look at it and decide, okay, do I want to upscale this, or do I want to generate another one? It's almost done decoding. And then we do the color match, and bam, there's your image to video. And you can see it stays pretty consistent as to what the original image looks like, right? Trying to keep that. I mean, if you wanted to have more of that painterly look, then you would put in the style. You would put style of painting or something like that into the initial scene. I mean, if you notice, I mean, it looks really good compared. So you can see there that that's the original image at the beginning, the first frame, and then she just kind of transformed. There you go. And man, it looks pretty damn real too, right? And then you could decide, okay, I like that image. I want to upscale that. You can actually enable upscale right here. And you can either do 100% upscale, or you can do 25% upscale, or you can do 20% upscale. So you can enable either one of these nodes. You can enable it. So let's say we like that image and we want to upscale it by another 20%. So let's go ahead and demonstrate another image just so you can see it is versatile. You can use it for, I mean, practically any type of image. So let's just do like this cat, and I'm going to paste the cat in here. And I'm going to put just a paint. Yeah, we'll do painting style. Actually, we'll do the scene is, right? We'll kind of keep it as simple as possible. And then we'll go ahead and generate the image. I'm going to do a few of these, that way you can kind of get a sense of how well it actually works, and you can kind of get a feel that, like, hey, maybe I don't need to pay for these modeling, all the stuff that people's using now. I paid for Kling for I paid for about a year subscription because it was on sale, and I haven't really been using it much after I discovered this. I mean, they haven't even brought out the actual video model yet. This is kind of just a hacky way of making it work, but it works actually pretty well. So you notice I'm using Image2Video Lora here. That was from Leap Fusion, so I'm going to provide a link in the description to this actual Lora to get it. These other ones, though, these are available on SubReddit, and of course, I'm using the fast version of the Hunyuan model. So it's fast video. I don't necessarily have to use that because I'm going 60 steps right now. So you can kind of experiment, and these are the settings that just work for me, and they work, like I said, 70 to 100% of the time. They do exactly what I want them to do. So I don't feel the need to like change much of anything because I've already went through that process of experiment. So let's see how well it does this video. It might have some trouble with this because it's more of like an animation instead of like a realistic video. So you can see it did have a little bit of trouble, and it turned it into a real cat instead of an animated cat. But we could try something different here. We could try scene is an animated style scene, right? So we'll do this. We'll do animated style scene. Change this. And then we'll put of here, and then what it will do is it'll be animated style scene of image, and then we'll try it again here and see if it actually pulls it off this time. So like I said, sometimes it works with the animated stuff, and then other times it don't. So you have to kind of be a little bit specific. You can use different Loras though that kind of help kind of push it in that direction. So if you get like animated style Loras, you can apply that to the actual generation, and that should help it out quite a bit. But I'm just kind of demonstrating it from the general purpose use case scenario right now. These are the Loras I mainly use, just because I don't know what it is about them. It's just they help with the movement and stuff like that, and I generate usually more realistic images and stuff anyways. So like I said, though, when you get this, it will be available on my Patreon. You can sign up for free. You don't have to pay for anything outright, and you can try it out yourself, and then you can choose from there whether or not you want to donate to me or what. I'm not going to make you, pay outright to get access to this. If you have an issue signing up for free, just let me know. See here, it's still transforming the cat. So some images it's going to have a little bit of trouble with actually driving it. So let's try a different animated image, and let's just see if we can get it to stay in that animated style. So let's try this girl right here, and then what we'll do is we'll put anime style, and then we'll change the main Lora. Actually, we'll change this Lora here to a more animated type Lora, so mineral style. You can see from my Loras, there are not safe for work Loras here. So you can do that as well with these images. And it all depends on how much weight you put towards them, the greater effect it's going to have. But it also, if you put too much weight towards the Lora, it's going to reduce the quality quite a bit. So let's see if it actually pulls it off with this girl here. So we can see, it tried to stick with the animated style pretty good there on that one. What we can do is we can also add another animated style here, a chain soldier manga, and now we'll get probably a more generalistic animated style generations from it. So you can see that looks pretty good, though. I mean, that's pretty coherent with the original image. You can see it worked pretty well. I'm going to find another animated image here. So like this girl here that's on fire, I'll go ahead and put it through here. And I just want to show you a couple of different ones. That way you kind of get a sense of feel how well it works. And that way you're not just like, oh, he's just showing like just a few good examples. Like, no, I'm going to show you, a couple of different ones. That way you can kind of make the decision as to whether or not you want to mess with it or not. And I'm showing you the first generation that it gives. So you can see for the most part, it's actually given a pretty decent first generation. That's why I went up for so many steps, because it basically helps it out. But 60 seems to be a sweet spot for it. Maybe if you doubled that 60 steps, you could get even better. But for me, 60 seemed to be enough. After you upscale this, it looks 10 times better. So, and you'll see what I mean here, because I've got two different workflows I want to show you. And another one is kind of just like this, but it's batch image to video. So you'll be able to do basically a batch set of images all at once, instead of having to go through and change your image and then click it again and all that stuff. You'll be able to just put a bunch of images in a folder and batch upscale all the images, or batch generate all the images at once. And then I have a batch video upscale workflow that I'm also going to show you. So you can see here, it tried to do the same thing with the image, but it kind of lost coherency there. But it did kind of keep the same theme of the image. This girl is on fire. And like I said, it'll work 70 to 100% of the time. It seems to have a lot of trouble with anime images. So that seems to be the major drawback of this particular workflow, is that it has some issues with anime style images. But more realistic looking images, it doesn't seem to have any trouble at all with them. Something like this should work really well. Sometimes it does good on images like this too. So I'm gonna do her first, and then we'll try something like this, a little bit more fantasy. It just shows you how quickly you can basically generate these images on your own computer and kind of decide for yourself, I don't want to use this generation. If I do, then I can go ahead and start upscaling it. And you can have multiple videos already made and then just send them through the batch video upscale, which saves you a lot of time, and it saves you a lot of headache too, because you're not having to sit here and wait for one to get done, click another one or whatever. You can see the appeal as to why some people use the websites for their video generation and stuff like that. But essentially, these people that are making these websites, they're using the same models. They're just basically training them, on their own data sets and making Loras for them and stuff like that. And then they're publishing it on a website, and then they're basically making people sign up for a subscription, and they're making a ton of money off of stuff that should be essentially free for everybody to use. But you can kind of get a sense of as to how much resource it takes to actually use this type of model locally on your computer. And I can kind of show you just how much RAM it's using right now. So if I go to my performance tab here, and I'm also recording too, but you can see how much of my RAM it's using, and that's not including my VRAM. Oh, yeah, it's using quite a bit of it right now. So it's running through the sampler right now. So see, when it starts decoding, look there, it jumps way up there. You can also see how much RAM it's using when it decodes. Now I got a lot of RAM now, but not everybody has that much RAM in their system. So I just want you to get a sense of realistically what you're going to have to run this. If you reduce the amount of frame, it won't use as much RAM, but you can see it took the image and it stayed pretty consistent, for something that you're doing locally on your computer. That's pretty decent in my opinion. And after you upscale it, it kind of fixes a lot of this stuff. So I definitely want to demonstrate that. I'm going to do one more image. I'm going to do this one because it looks, a little bit more fantasy, and you can kind of see how that works out. So I wanted to do like just random stuff off of SubReddit because I wanted to kind of demonstrate how it actually works. And I didn't want to kind of lead you on with like cherry picked generations. Like a lot of these channels will pick out like the best generations they got and act like it's the best thing ever. This is not the best thing ever, but it still works pretty good. Decent enough that I think that you could actually use it to make a short film if you wanted to. You would just have to be a little bit more selective over your generations, but this is all for free, so can't really beat free. I shouldn't say it's exactly free because it has to use power, in order to generate these images, but it's probably a lot cheaper than paying for a website subscription where you only get so many tokens, and after 100 generations or so you're out of tokens and you gotta buy more tokens. I saw you're breaking the bank pretty hard there. I think it's partially doing that, because I got this anime style scene. Usually I just keep what I've got here on the post scene prompt, and this right here will put both of the prompts together and send them directly to your text encoder. So you can see it's more of a fantastical image. Now, he's not moving a whole lot on this generation, but I found that if you don't get a lot of movement, you can increase the flow to 15, and that kind of helps with increasing the amount of movement. But it can also increase like the chance that it's going to mess up and turn into something completely different what you wanted it to be. So basically, the way you want to think of flow shift is the lower the value, the more it stays consistent with the original image. So if you had it set down really low, probably wouldn't move at all, but it would still look more like the original image. Also, with the guidance scale, the reason I set it up so high really is so it didn't seem to affect it much at the lower values. If you put in any kind of, you wanted it to do something right in the scene, didn't seem to affect it much. So I'm going to delete this part right here, and then with the flow shift set to 15, I'm going to generate it again, and let's see if we get something a little bit different. As you can see, it stayed pretty consistent with the original image, and you can see a little bit of movement in here. You can see like his wings moving around a little bit in the background, the feathers and stuff like that. And you can see his hair moving right there a little bit, but it's not a whole lot of movement. So it's like, okay, with images like this, you want to get a little bit more movement, just increase the flow shift, keep it in between 12 and 15. I've found it's like the best values for it, but you can experiment with it all you want, because that's what this is for. You know, we want to experiment with it and learn the best way of doing it, so that, you know, it helps out everybody. So you can see here, it kind of makes me look dumb because he didn't increase his movement at all. I don't understand why that happened. We can try going back down to 12 and we'll generate again. But usually you'll get at least a little bit of movement. So I'm not sure why it's choosing not to give this image hardly any movement. I should have put some kind of action in the prompt, like I could say subject is posing in the scene or something like that. I'll actually do that next. So after I generate it again here, I'm gonna try putting in the prompt subject is posing and see if that actually helps guide his movement a little bit more. And if you find that it's not really moving that much, I mean, like you said, you can change out the Loras too, and that kind of helps with movement too. So if you increase the priority of something like this, it will actually help affect the movement greatly, that I've noticed. So that's something to take into consideration too, if you get images like this where the subject just does not want to move at all. But this is why I'm demonstrating it to you, because, you know, we can kind of get these issues and kind of, you know, sort them out. But it really isn't that big a deal. I mean, considering like the kind of power that you have with this, it gives you so much, I don't know, like it gives you so much power at the tip of your fingertip. Basically, people are going to be able to make whatever type of videos they want directly from their computer. So you can see now he's moving around, his wings is kind of flapped around behind him there. Now let's describe the scene a little bit, and we can say angel, right, character. We'll just say character. Try to be generalistic with wings, is doing idle pose, right, in the, so it's going to be in the, and then the image, which is giving a reference to the image here. And I found that that helps out quite a bit when you're actually like, when you design this prompt here to be specifically directed towards the bottom prompt. So let's generate again. I notice I spelled character wrong, but that probably doesn't do me any good to change it now. And it might understand what I was saying anyways, but we'll see. So now we can see we got a lot more movement in there. And all it took was like we adjusted the action a little bit. Now, like I said, this is why you want to keep it as simple as possible, because when it interpreted wing, it's also thinking there must be birds in the scene, right? It put birds everywhere behind this guy. So you had to be pretty generalistic, and you had to keep it as simple as possible. So like you say, he moves his hand up, touches his face, you know, or just random things. Like you just try to keep it as simple as possible, and that seems to do a better job. But, you know, this actually looks pretty decent for what it is. Now, I want to go ahead and demonstrate my other workflows. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the image to video batch, which can do multiple images at once. And I've already got a bunch, well, not a bunch of images, but I got a couple of example images set up here. Let's see, here's the images, and then here is the videos that I produced already. I'm going to go ahead and enlarge, and you can see all the different videos I made. So here was the first one. You can see, pretty good, huh? Yeah, that's pretty good for something that you did locally. Here's another one. And of course, it messed up on this one, and it messed up on the cat, but it actually did a decent job of handling this one. Let me just zoom it in, that way you can see it better. There you go. And then this one here, And you see, they're not always going to turn out 100% perfect. But that's why you can just kind of regenerate it until you get something that you like. And it's completely free to do. So, you're not paying for all these generations that you're making. Now, you see here, that's the first one I had of him. And it kept it, really close to the original image. And here's the second one, which gave me absolutely no movement at all. I don't know why, even after I increased the close shift. And then here's this one. You can see that was pretty decent. It actually did move around a little bit. And this one, after I added the action prompt, you can see he had a lot more movement. So now let's get back to the batch image upscale. So what we want to do is we find a folder with all the images in it. Then take note that the images are .jpeg. So you want to know what the file extension is, and you want to know how many images that you have. So down here, it actually shows the amount of items that is in the folder that you're looking at. And you want to copy the folder path here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to enter it in down here at path. I just put enter path here just so it's easier to understand. And then you're going to put another slash, and you're going to do star and then .jpeg, right? You want to make sure that your extension matches the extension of the images. Otherwise, it will not detect them. And when you go to generate a batch of images, you will put your queue up to however many images was in the folder. So there were 6 images in the folder. So we'll just queue 6. And we won't do any kind of description or whatever, and we'll just have it generate all 6 of these images. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Q. Okay, what did I mess up on here? So with this node here in particular, I kind of messed up when I was redoing this workflow, but you don't have to have the star and then the extension at the end of the path. You can just put the path with the images in it, and it will automatically detect the type of images is there in it, and it'll automatically start processing all the images. So right now it's processing the first image. Another thing I want to show you is that you can kind of fix the order that it processes them in. So basically, if you select all the images and you just click rename, you can rename the first images. So I renamed the first one to test, and it created the number 1 next to it, and it also added a number to each one of these. So it will go in the order in which they're numbered as well. You can see there we have it. Actually made a pretty decent generation there, besides the end of it there where he started to explode. But other than that, though, it looks pretty good. Now it's going to generate this one here, and you can see it will show a preview for the image that it's currently on. But you can see how powerful this is as to how it's going to save you time. I mean, you can basically just set it and forget it. You could generate a million different, or make a million different copies of the same image and do it that way. Or you could just, in the first workflow, you could generate that same image over and over again, or you could make a whole film of different images for different scenes and then have them all generated once. And then the ones you don't like, you can just go back, regenerate them one at a time, and just kind of, it saves you so much time because you're not sitting there basically trying to do things over and over again, like on some website where you have to wait on them, and you're pretty much dependent on the website. And then every generation you mess up on, you're having to pay for. This is completely free, so you don't have to worry about that. You see, it does really well for realistic images. So if you really wanted to make a short film with this, it's pretty possible. To me, the best advice I would give you is to put the sub already doing the action that you want them to do, basically, and it kind of gets it from there. So you can see she's taking a picture, and you could reverse this scene and make it to where she's putting the camera up to her eyeball instead of just taking it down. But she also does that all in one movement. So she takes it down and then puts it back up. And you can see it looks really good, really decent quality for something that is made on my computer. So, when she pulls it down, it knows what her face is supposed to look like underneath that camera. Now it does mess up right here with her finger. But like I said, a lot of this stuff, it's going to fix itself whenever you do upscale. So, just keep that in mind, and you want to try, and pick out the best low res generation you can get before you proceed to the upscale process. And I'm going to show you how you can get like pretty much the best quality you can get out of these generations. See, that's really good. It really stayed pretty consistent with the original image. She's not moving a whole lot in this one, but we didn't really prompt her to do anything, so this is pretty decent, especially considering there is no prompt to really do anything. I just keep this generalistic prompt down here. And, if you want to do batch image generations, you need to have some kind of generalistic prompt. And I found that this prompt worked pretty well considering, you just think about how you're describing the scene. You basically don't want to be too specific about things. Because the moment that you be specific about things, that's when things get kind of wonky. You have it. And this one actually added, the cars moving in the background. Yeah, that's a pretty nice little detail. Like I said, you can generate every scene. You can make all your images for every scene and just have this go through each and every one of them, and then for the ones that you didn't like, just use the single image workflow and go back, regenerate it until you get something you like. And you could basically, you could make an entire little movie in a short period of time. So, of course, you can generate images and stuff like this locally too. You don't have to use these paid websites in order to be able to generate images. One thing that really disgusted me was Midjourney and how they basically was charging people, and probably still are charging people. I never really used Midjourney that much. I used it when it first came out, but then, I just kind of gave up on it because Stable Diffusion. And I just use Stable Diffusion for pretty much everything. And that's why I enjoy open source, DeepMind, or that they came out with the new, it was DeepSeek. DeepSeek came out with the new LLM model that everybody was freaking out about. And to me, that just helps everybody, in my opinion. People, some people can be detractors of it and say they took stuff from OpenAI or whatever. But OpenAI took stuff from everybody, but they're charging people for it. That's like, yeah, So this is a good demonstration of how you can make cinematic looking scenes, so you can see even the people behind her are moving around. You see the flame in the background. It works pretty well, for something that you're doing locally on your computer. So I wanted to kind of show every little detail so that you understand how it works, right? Now, it might not work exactly the same on your system, because everybody's system's different. I can't guarantee that if you download this workflow, it's going to work for you. I cannot guarantee that at all. I can't guarantee it's going to work the same for you, but I'm just showing you how it works on my system. Everybody's got different video cards. Everybody's got different processors. Everybody's got different specs, and I can't possibly account for all that. I'm not going to explain exactly how I got Sage Attention working, all that stuff. There's a lot of resources already on the internet that explains how to do that. Not really going to go into that, but if you really want to know how to get it to work, let me know in the comments, and I will try to address that, because if people are having trouble trying to get Sage Attention to work, I can understand it. It's a technical thing. You got to go through things about, why it's like fucking Python portable and all that stuff. You got to kind of jump through hoops to get things working correctly, but I can kind of help you out with that if you're having issues. So it messed up, but it also did something pretty funny. It's got the duck coming out of the water and he's like jumping up with his umbrella. That's kind of funny. So I don't know if that's kind of like a happy mistake, really, that it's actually working that well. It just makes it, the one thing that I really noticed about the Hunyuan model is that it tends to want to make everything look more realistic, and that does look pretty realistic besides his umbrella, like kind of fading out of nowhere. But other than that, the duck looks real, and you see his feathers and stuff like that. That's crazy. I believe that was the last image. And now, I'm going to save this And I'm also going to put this as an example path. So example path, and then we'll put that there. And we'll make it a little bit shorter than D/ all this stuff, you know, it's like, yeah. So there's an example path, just in case you want to know. And I'll show you, this is exactly how it looks. You don't have to put the file extension on this one, but you might have to do it for the other one. That's probably why I got it mixed up. We're going to go ahead and hit OK on that. And then I'm going to show you, let me go ahead and save this as well. And I'm going to show you the upscaler. Okay, now the upscaler, it's kind of hit or miss for me right now. I think that if I had more VRAM, I would, you know, it'd be easier. It would work 100% of the time, but it doesn't always work 100% of the time. Sometimes it gets stuck on the decoding. There's something about when it gets to the decoding that it starts having issues. I'm not sure why or whatever, but most of the time it should work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I should already have another folder here. And you see it put batch low res, right? So it's got, yeah, it's basically got all the videos it just generated here. And we want to get rid of the PNG files. We don't want those. So we'll go ahead and sort it by type. Right, and then we'll just grab all these PNG files and delete them because we don't want those. And then we're going to take this right here, the file path, and paste it in here, and then we're going to do another slash here and do .mp4, right? So .mp4, and hopefully I get this right. Right, so I might have to do the *2 .mp4 at the end of the name. We'll go ahead and we should queue for the same amount of videos, which is 6. Should be 6 videos. Yeah, and we're going to go ahead and queue and upscale them by 100. So we'll do that, and there we go. I'll also put a note here for an example path. That way you guys know exactly how to put the path in when you put it in, because like this stuff can get confusing. So it's better to have some kind of note or something, you know, to kind of remind you that this is how you're supposed to do it. I'm going to put this note example, right, path, and we'll just go ahead and paste that in there, and we'll do the /, and then we'll do the *, and then the .mp4. Right, so make sure you get that exactly right. If you don't get your path exactly right, it's not going to work. Not going to work right. Also, while it's doing that, I kind of want to go over something that you might have an issue with, that I had an issue with, because I had recently updated ComfyUi, and after that updated ComfyUI, let's go into the Python embedded here. The transformers, right, updated on me, but it created an issue with this workflow. Basically with all these workflows, it would have an issue. If you don't have this version of transformers in your Python embedded for ComfyUI, then you might have an issue where it won't generate. It'll give you an error code. So in order to fix that, you need to downgrade back to this version the transformers. That's the only way I found to fix it. If you find another way around it, let me know. But just so you know, if you get an error and it's basically about your text encoder or something like that, it'll tell you something like it can't do it because of text encoder. It's not what it is. It's your transformers that's causing it. So you have to fix your transformers and downgrade it back. So this is the issue right here that I was talking about, where it'll get to decode and then all of a sudden it freezes up. You can't do anything. The only thing you can do is exit out. I'm going to exit out. And it could be where I'm recording right now too. That could be causing some issues too. But I'm going to exit out, and I'm going to exit out this extra tab and try to close down anything extra you might have running in the background. So if you got anything extra running in the background, make sure you got that shit X'd out, or it's gonna have issues when it starts upscaling and it gets to the decoder process. If you've only got 24 gigabytes of RAM, VRAM, you might have some issues with the upscaling. But in order to kind of skirt around that, you can upscale just a little bit at a time. So instead of doing 100% upscale, you could start out like 25%, just gradually kind of work your way up. And that actually kind of works out better in the long run, because it just makes the quality look so much better. Because it upscaled, it reiterated over the video several times, and it fixes all the problems basically that it had. So what we want to do is we want to go back into it and reload it. Hopefully it didn't corrupt my recording, but I guess we'll see. I'm going to reload it and make sure we got only this workflow open. And we can see here if it output anything. It didn't output anything, so that's good. But we're gonna reduce the scale by, and we're just gonna do it like to 5, because I just want to show you that it works. Because 2 might be 100% might be a little bit too much right now. I'm gonna go ahead and cue it again. You can see it'll pick the first video. So if you can't do 100% upscale, which sometimes it works for me, sometimes it don't, then just start out small. Start out small and just work your way up. And you don't have to do a whole lot of steps either for the upscale process. So it's significantly less steps for the upscaling process. I just want to kind of demonstrate, that you can put these, it'll go through multiple videos, multiple iterations. And I should have upped the queue, but I didn't up the queue like I was supposed to. So I'm going to go ahead and skip past this, and I'll show you that it will do all the videos at once. So you can see, after it upscales, it looks a lot better. Changes it up a little bit, that's for sure, but you can definitely tell a difference in the quality. But I'm going to reiterate this, and we'll go up. We'll just do 4 as of right now, and then let's go ahead and put these videos in upscale folder, which I'll probably make it to where it automatically just puts them in a folder instead of it being like this. So we'll throw that in there too. And then we'll just do 4 of these. Or 5. We'll do 5. And that way you can kind of see the difference in quality. And this is only like by 25%. So you can think, if you did gradual steps up to, I would go probably about at least a 200% increase. So if you did gradual steps up to 200% for each video, they're going to look amazing. Okay, it's going to be hard for people to tell that it's an AI generated video. This one's already pretty good for something that I did on my computer, so. And you can kind of see how much faster it is too, by, just gradually upscaling the videos instead of trying to just pump them up maximum resolution right at the beginning. And you can see there, you remember her finger had an issue before. See how it kind of fixed that? That's why you want to try and keep the denoising strength around 25 to 30%. Okay, if you keep that denoising strength around 25 to 30%, it'll fix some of these problems that you're getting out of the initial generation. So you see, she gradually puts her finger down. It doesn't just disappear in the camera like in the original generation. But you can see how much better it's looking already with just a 25% increase. Now, if you have programs like Topaz AI and you upscale using Hunyuan to about 200%, that's around, the resolution's like 960. So, and then you upscale it with Topaz by, another, 2x, you get pretty much 4K video. So you got to kind of think about that. You can do this all locally on your system. So it is locking up on me again, and it's probably because it's where I'm recording. I just don't have enough VRAM for the decoding process to go through. Even though I've got the tile in it to like 64, it's still having a little bit of trouble with that. So I'm going to have to exit out again, but I just want to demonstrate it to you guys so, you know, you can kind of see realistic how it works. And sometimes it'll do it flawlessly, but you know, where I'm recording and everything right now, I'm using extra VRAM in the background that it needs for decoding. You know, if you reduce the amount of frames for each video, like 97 or something like that, and then kind of reduce the upscale value and just kind of reiterate it over it, it would go through just fine. You know, it just depends on the upscaling and stuff like that. So we got another video from that, and we'll go ahead and throw these in here. I don't want to replace the files in the destination, so I'm just going to rename these to upscale and then camera, or just cam. I'm just going to put cam, upscale cam. I'm going to throw these in here. I'm going to throw this one in here. I'm just going to do a batch of 4, and then I'm going to start it back up again here. Go ahead and run it again, and hopefully it goes through this time without freezing up on me. We'll see. We're gonna do Q4, and I'm gonna queue it and run encode. I badly wanted to get a 5090 just for this, but you can't find them anywhere. You know, they're all out of stock. So it is what it is, you know. And of course, the scalpers and the bots and stuff, they're running rampant right now. They're trying to sell those cards on eBay for $5,000. Some of them trying to sell it for $10,000. It's crazy right now. I hope that NVIDIA starts producing more and they're not just trying to inflate the price of that card. Eventually, I hope they kind of produce enough to kind of outweigh the bots and shit. Like, and here's the thing: if you wanted to fix the scalping problem, don't buy from scalpers. Okay, because then they would just be wasting their money. You know, either way, they think they're going to get a turnover. Okay, so here's the thing: you know, they know that these video cards are going to be in high demand, and of course, they're going to set up automated bots to sit there and buy all the stock that's available because they know that they're going to get a turnover from it. They're going to get, somebody is going to give them money, extra money for those fucking cards because somebody's going to want them. Now, I could just get another 3090, I guess, and that would pretty much increase my VRAM. But who wants to do that when you can have the latest and greatest, you know? Like, the latest in DLSS technology. I don't know if I really agree with the way NVIDIA is doing things. You know, some people might. But I think that they need to actually make hardware that's capable of handling, you know, or capable of pushing more pixels at once instead of fake pixels. That's just my opinion on it. But maybe they can. Maybe that's why they have to use AI in order to try and push it to the next level. But you can see how much better quality it is now just from a 25 upscale. You're really noticing the difference now in quality. You can see here, I mean, her hands are still a little bit glitchy right there, but you know, after you upscale it again, that's pretty much going to go away, you know, because it's going to reiterate over that and it's going to think, okay, those are her hands. I need to fix that. Again, I think it's going to freeze up on this one. And it did. So let's go ahead and exit out before it goes crazy. Now, I don't know why, but it seems like it's always on the decoding. When it starts decoding, that's when it fucking just goes off the rails. We'll open it up again. We'll do this last video and we'll go ahead and move the upscaled videos. It's not really the last one. Let's X out these extra tabs. We don't need them. X that out and go back in here. We can see the upscaled videos. I'm just going to move these over after I rename them here. Just name it to girl upscale. And I'm going to move these into the upscale folder. And we can just take a look here at the ones that are done so far. And, you know, you might have better luck with this. Usually it don't freeze up on me this often. And even when I do 100% upscale, but it's probably because, you know, I'm also using 14% of my GPU right now just for recording. You want to make sure that you have your resources freed up whenever you run the upscale. But we're just going to look at the upscaled versions here, and we're going to compare them to the low res version. Right, so this is the low res video here, right, and you can kind of see there's a difference. And then if I open this with media player, right, this is the upscaled version, right, so we can kind of put them side by side here. That way we can see the difference between them, and you can see there's the upscale. We'll turn repeat on. There's the difference, right? Pretty big difference after it upscales. We'll do the same thing with this other one here. You can see there's the low res version of the video. I'm just going to drag her up here, and then here is the upscaled version of her, which I didn't open in a different program. Let's do this again. We'll put her in media player. There's the upscaled version of her. So you can see it's a pretty big difference. All right, so I'm going to repeat. There you go. So here is the upscaled, which I think they're both upscaled. Yeah, they're both the upscale. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? This one, okay, is the low res version of it. Now we can actually compare. Here's the low res, and you can see it's freaking low res. And then there's upscale, 25. And you would think 25% make all that difference. Well, it did. It made a pretty big difference. You can still kind of tell it's AI, you know, because you can kind of see, like, I don't know how to explain it, just like the oscillation and stuff, and their texture of your skin and stuff like that. You can kind of tell it's still AI. But once you upscaled it again, you know, 25%, another 3 times, you wouldn't be able to tell. Okay. And if you run it through a program like Topaz, and you get it up to 4K resolution, all locally on your system. So I just wanted to kind of show you these workflows. They're going to be available on my Patreon. So if you want to get access to them, just go to my Patreon there, and they'll be on the workflow collections. But thank you guys for everybody that's watched, and take it easy, guys.